What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, today's video, we're going to be talking about Heroes Reborn number 7 by Jason Aaron, Aaron Cooter, and Ed McGuinness. And in this video, we are going to learn how the world of the Squadron Supremes, Heroes Reborn, Mephisto, Simulacrum, whatever the hell it is, this alternate reality that Mephisto has cooked up, we're going to learn a lot more about it in this issue, and probably even some more startling truths about this reality than what we've learned, even in some of the Heroes Reborn tie-ins. We're also going to learn the real truth behind the Squadron Supremes superhero civil war in their reality, and we're also going to learn the definitive answer about how involved Agent Coulson, now President Coulson, is involved in all of this. We're going to talk about all that and more right now. But first, if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoy the video, I humbly ask that you Hulk smash that like button because it really helps the channel out. That said, let's hit that intro.
Word to wise, grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple eyes. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Okay, so getting into it, this comic reveals some things that I found incredibly interesting in regards to this Heroes Reborn reality that Mephisto has been lording over, has essentially made himself the god of. And one of the things that really stuck out to me in reading the Nighthawk portion of Heroes Reborn, where we learned that Norman Osborn had become obsessed with trying to outdo Nighthawk, that he created the Goblin serum and basically turned himself into Green Goblin and became Nighthawk's Joker. Well, in all this, we learned that at one point in time, he recreated a moment from the Dark Reign story arc post Secret Invasion, where Norman Osborn had basically become the top dog in all of the Marvel Comics universe. He was literally the guy. He replaced Nick Fury and Tony Stark and Maria Hill as being the heads of security for the entirety of the United States of America. He created his own Avengers squad, which was dubbed the Dark Avengers as far as titles go, but they were basically the Avengers. A team that had characters like the Sentry and Bullseye masquerading as Hawkeye. Venom, who at the time had Matt Gargan, the Scorpion, as his host, was masquerading as Spider-Man. We also had other characters as well, like Dakin being Wolverine, and various other characters were also involved as well. It was a very interesting lineup, but in this we learned that the Green Goblin, who at this time was not wearing his normal face, he was actively walking around as the Green Goblin and trying to become president of the United States and creating his own Dark Squadron, even calling it the Dark Squadron in universe. He's reading the quiet parts out loud that he is creating a Dark Squadron, and that for his team, he is putting together the Sentry, who basically seems like the Sentry we're used to, albeit he doesn't seem to have the long hair that we're used to. He seems to have more of a clean cut look. We also see that he has Moon Knight, who instead of wearing all white is wearing all black and looks like more of an assassin than anything else. We also see that he has Nova, who, while he does look like Nova, also seems to have a little bit of a similarity, at least in terms of helmet, to Star-Lord, and he looks like he's probably not the nicest guy. We also know that Valkyrie is standing in as, I guess, the Asgardian of the group, and this Valkyrie, we don't know whether or not this is Jane Foster or not, but I do find it interesting that she is wielding Yarnbjorn, which is Thor's axe. And we also see the Ghost Runner, who is the Ghost Rider of the Heroes Reborn universe, and instead of using a vehicle as his, way of getting around, he literally just uses his legs. He's basically the Flash with the spirit of vengeance. We also learn a little bit more about this universe, how the Squadron Supreme basically decimated Canada, and the team that we have always known as Alpha Flight was basically acting as a last resistance, trying trying to get revenge for what the Squadron did to Canada, with Wolverine leading the charge, with the character Shaman having magically imbued his claws so that he could kill Hyperion with them. Because in this universe, Hyperion, much like Superman in the DC Comics universe, Superman has a very interesting off and on weakness to magic. Sometimes it depends on who's writing it. Sometimes Superman has a weakness to magic. Sometimes he just isn't so much as weak to it as he just doesn't have an invulnerability to it. But regardless of all that, in this universe, in Heroes Reborn, the Marvel Comics pastiche of Superman being Hyperion, he's kind of a little bit of the same. It's not even so much that I think that he's weak against magic, he's just not invulnerable to it like he is everything else. And in this universe, Wolverine killed Hyperion largely for destroying Canada, but also even more so because Zarda, the Power Princess, killed Jean Grey when she was the Phoenix. Another Starlight truth we learned about this universe is that our resident speedrunner, Blerd, who is supposed to be our Marvel Comics version of the Flash, well, he's largely seemed like a very funny, jokey character. Apparently, he too has had his brushes with serious moments. In this universe, it was he who was married to Mary Jane Watson, who in this universe is Mary Jane Stewart. And the same instance that a lot of comics readers, Spider-Man fans, often have nothing good to say about, the Marvel Comics Spider-Man event One More Day. Well, in this universe, Spider-Man didn't have that one more day moment. It was Blerd. Blerd had to make that choice and make that fateful deal with Mephisto. In an even more interesting turn, we learn the truth about Nick Fury in this universe, who largely has been missing, and for good reason, because he's dead. Nick Fury at one point in time was the president of the United States. He was President Fury, and judging by the words that Dr. Spectrum gives, apparently he was gunned down in the street. But that was because during this time period, the Squadron Supreme was not around. This Heroes Reborn universe is an incredibly interesting universe, and the thing that I thought was even crazier about all of this more than anything else is that we actually learn the truth about why Hyperion and Nighthawk started a superhero civil war. Now, I talked about this in my video for Heroes Reborn number 5 and 6 in little tidbits, and I posited that, yeah, this was all about love. This was about jealousy, love, and a love triangle that was between Hyperion, Nighthawk, and Power Princess, the trinity of the Squadron Supreme. And some people said that maybe I was reading too much into it, but no, apparently I was reading it exactly the way it was meant to be read. Yes, there is a Superhero Registration Act that Nighthawk, much in the way that Tony Stark did, kind of forced into being. However, that's actually not exactly the reason why this is going on. Even Hyperion points this out during their battle with one another, where he reveals that what this is really about is that Zarda, the Power Princess, loves Hyperion and not Nighthawk. And at this time, this was a Nighthawk who was wielding the Venom symbiote, which is for what seems like a second time, where when Hyperion is fighting with Nighthawk, he says that you bonded with that deranged alien symbiote, again implying that the first time wasn't the last. And Hyperion, echoing words that we've witnessed before in previous comics, like the original Marvel Comics Civil War, talking about how in Civil War, no matter who wins, both sides bleed. Hyperion ends up flying Nighthawk towards the sun, which we don't know if he actually throws him into the sun or not, because Nighthawk is very much still alive, but he clearly took him close enough that the symbiote was burned off of him and Nighthawk was back to normal. That said, the Squadron Supreme have their own problems, and this is something that apparently is still going on. Nighthawk and Hyperion don't like each other. They don't even really trust each other in this universe. They constantly are giving each other dirty looks, and Zarda is the reason why. And we know that Zarda knows exactly what she's doing. In Heroes Reborn number 6, she revealed that she purposefully pushes their buttons to push them towards fighting each other because that's what she craves. That is why she came to the world of men, to fight in wars and start them. It wasn't to love man, it wasn't to love humanity. She just wants a fight, and she doesn't care who the fight is between. Even though in this comic she likes to pretend as though she's not the reason why all this is happening, trust me, she is very much enjoying this. Now, one thing we do get to find out is that yes, the Squadron is finally talking to each other about the Avengers. They're finally revealing the things that they've learned about the Avengers to one another. And while Blerd, yes, does not remember anything about what he learned, even though he saw for himself that the world was broken, he doesn't seem to remember any of it because of his incredibly short attention span. Not only that, but Dr. Spectrum doesn't seem to think that anything's wrong either, because as far as he's concerned, he's flown around the cosmos and the universe dozens of times a day, and he's not witnessed anything out of place. But Hyperion does reveal that when he fought with the Hulk, that the Hulk told him something that made him realize things weren't right and that something had been changed, and even alluding to what we saw in Heroes Reborn #2, where he went to the ice to find out whether or not Steve Rogers was or was not still there, or if anything was ever there. And no one really seems to believe him because, for one thing, why would Steve Rogers be in the ice? And more importantly, the Hulk is not intelligent in this universe. But when he was fighting with Hyperion, the Hulk was able to articulate exactly what Hyperion's talking about. And everyone is waiting for the smartest man in the room, Nighthawk, to reveal his cards to say what everyone is wanting to hear, to have the answers. And Nighthawk basically confirms Hyperion's suspicions that somewhere in the ice there was something that was removed and now it's gone, and whatever that was, it was something that was important and is very likely tied to the Avengers, and of course, as we know, it is. Zarda ends up trying to play a lead that Nighthawk isn't willing to follow, going after the Green Goblin, and of course, learning about as much as one would probably expect. The Goblin doesn't want to tell her anything. He doesn't want to spill any beans because he doesn't want to be known as a snitch, but he also likes the fact that he's in this position where he can hold something over Zarda's head. And we learn that Zarda, once again, is probably the one person you don't ever want to send in to try to interrogate somebody that you might want to keep alive long enough to actually get some information out of, because Goblin is actually going to use Zarda's past against her, referring to the virus that killed all of the other Utopians. Her time spent in the world of men, she contracted something, and he doesn't say exactly what it is, but there was some kind of virus that she contracted while she was amongst the world of men, and when she returned to Utopia, that virus spread to the other Utopians, and whatever it was, it killed all of them. Zarda was the only one who was actually immune to it, or at the very least, she was a carrier of it. Now, we don't know what this virus is. It's not stated explicitly what it does, but it kind of sounds like, just based on what we know about Zarda, and it almost sounds like this really crazy superhero pandemic level virus, or some kind of ultimate superhero STD. It's hard to say exactly what it is, but Zarda kills the Goblin just for even speaking about the Utopians. The real problem in all this is that while the team is all talking about what they need to do, there's somebody that's listening in who they probably don't realize they don't want listening in on their conversation, and that is President Phil Coulson. We haven't really seen a whole lot of Phil Coulson in the Heroes Reborn event thus far. We've kind of seen him kind of sparingly spread across this event, but what we do know about him is that from the jump, he always kind of seemed like he was in on the whole gag, and it's here we realize, yeah, he is 100% in on everything. He knows that the Squadron Supreme are planning to hunt down the Avengers. He's fully aware that the team is about to locate Wakanda, a Wakanda who, for all intents and purposes, is not meant to be found. Nighthawk was able to trace the vibranium meteorite that basically made Wakanda what it is in Earth 616 proper. He's able to trace it and find exactly where the lost city of Wakanda should be. Now, the interesting thing here is they don't know what Wakanda is, and some of the team is even kind of divided on what exactly it is that they should do. Zarda wants to destroy them outright, and some of the rest of the team don't understand why a society would hide from the rest of the world. But one thing they are definitely certain of is that the Avengers are in Wakanda, and more importantly, Steve has assembled some of its most powerful members to try and stop the Squadron Supreme. As it turns out, he has seemingly successfully recruited not just Black Panther and Thor, but also they have the Star Brand at their disposal. They also have Echo the Phoenix, and of course, Blade, who brought them all together in the first place. This is all incredibly troubling because now that Coulson knows what's going on here, Coulson has to make a choice because everything has gone on against him. The Squadron basically are kicking a hornet's nest, one that neither he nor Mephisto were ready to be kicked. Worse yet, we also have Vice President Thunderbolt Ross and House Press Secretary J. Jonah Jameson basically trying to tell Coulson what the next move should be, that they should go after Wakanda, that they should just start bombing their enemies, that whatever the Avengers are, they need to shut it down and quick. But Coulson, he has other ideas. What he's going to do is he's going to murder Thunderbolt Ross and J. Jonah Jameson and blame it on Wakanda so that he can set up a reason to attack them. And Mephisto has been watching and waiting the whole time. Mephisto has been pulling the strings on this all this time. Mephisto has kind of been the overarching villain of Jason Aaron's entire run. He's basically the architect behind everything. We've seen him in the background pulling strings and working his magic and sowing his lies, even when he was trapped behind bars in Las Vegas thanks to Doctor Strange. Mephisto is, for all intents and purposes, he's playing the long game. He's tried manipulating Tony Stark. We even learned that Tony Stark's own father, Howard Stark, had at some point in time bowed down to Mephisto and kissed the ring. But in the end, the linchpin in all this is Captain America. Captain America is the one thing that brought all this together, even though yes, technically Blade was the one who found Captain America, but the absence of Captain America basically threw the entire Earth 616 reality into the disarray that Mephisto has created, and now they have to make a choice, and Phil Coulson is basically going to have to kill Steve Rogers, even admitting that just leaving him in the ice to be forgotten was being too sentimental. And even worse yet, what they're probably going to have to do is turn on the Squadron themselves. Even Coulson brings up that if we lose a Squadron, we lose the world, but Mephisto doesn't really seem that concerned about it. There's another group of people who are also involved in all of these shenanigans, a council that Mephisto brings up, saying that they still don't trust him yet, and that those are the extra numbers that he has enlisted that should the Squadron Supreme go rogue, they would still have the firepower to hold this world in place. Who is this council? It's hard to say, but if I had to guess about who his council might be, my first guess was thinking, oh, well, maybe it's the other Lords of Hell, like maybe it's Dormammu, maybe Nightmare, Blackheart, or whoever else. But now I'm starting to get the impression it's not quite that simple. I'm actually starting to think if you go back to Avengers number 32, he's been trying to push Namor into aligning himself with the Vampire Nation. He's been trying to convince Dracula to join forces with Namor and Russia, and even trying to convince the Red Widow to do much the same, working with Namor and the Vampire Nation. Once again, it's not explicitly stated who it's going to be, but if I had to guess, those would be the names I'd be looking at. More importantly, Mephisto has one last weapon in his arsenal that they can use to help fix all of this. And it seems like they're going to try and make one last-ditch effort to reshape the world yet again, and that is going to be using the Pandemonium Cube, or otherwise the Helahedron. This is basically an alternate reality version of the Cosmic Cube, one that, judging by its namesakes, that it is very much likely a more hellish version, a more hell-influenced version of the Cosmic Cube with roughly the exact same powers. The Cosmic Cube has the ability to rewrite reality as one sees fit, and they explicitly state this is how they shaped reality to begin with, so it makes sense that they would use it once more to solidify everything that they want to maintain. That said, this next issue, the next issue, Heroes Return #1, we're basically setting up what is either going to be a big duke-a-roo between the Squadron Supreme of America and Earth's mightiest heroes, the Avengers, or maybe even possibly them just simply working together, or as comics are likely want to do, a little bit of both. So far, this event has been pretty awesome. I am incredibly surprised. Once again, I've said this every video, I was never really checking for Heroes Reborn in any capacity when it was originally announced, but man, it has become probably one of my favorite events of the year, which is a scary thing to say out loud. But anyways, that's everything. I'm kind of hoping that, how this plays out, I'm really hoping that maybe the Squadron and the Avengers can find some kind of a middle ground, and if they're able to rewrite reality, put things back the way they were, I'm hoping the Squadron hangs around, because I actually really like them, even though I do kind of hope they drop some of the darker edge. Like, once again, it is kind of what separates them from being just the Justice League league in all but name, but I do appreciate the fact that they are not exactly the same as the characters that they are pastiches of, and I do want to see more of them. Maybe tone it down just a little bit, because in this, they're almost villains in and of themselves. They're almost too villainous, but I would be very interested in seeing them. Maybe who knows, they could become the Squadron Supreme of America in the Earth 616 universe that could be just another alternative to the Avengers. I feel like this is a team that would work really well as being that other team the Avengers have to butt heads with sometimes, and not necessarily because the team is, you know, quotey fingers, bad, but because they just have very different ways of doing things. So I don't know, maybe keeping the darker edge might work. I don't know, I'm on the fence. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, Hulk smash that like button, and make sure to share this video all over the internet and with all your friends so they'll know how you leveled up your comic book big brain in regards to the Marvel Comics event, Heroes Reborn. On your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what you thought about Heroes Reborn #7. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.